As I mentioned this morning, I want to talk about peace. I think it's important to have an understanding of what peace is. Peace is different for each one of us. And to come to some common understanding, I think for the purposes of our morning, I was examining just various sources and ideas and things like that, and I came across a quote and a question from the Dalai Lama that helped set the table for me. And it was, a student once asked the Dalai Lama, what's the most important thing we can do to bring peace to the world? And the Dalai Lama replied, first, disarm your own heart. First, disarm your own heart. Which brought me to the question for myself, how is my heart weaponized? Are there ways that my heart, is it possible to weaponize my heart? Or the ways that my mind is weaponized? Are there a way that I move through the world where I am, instead of building bridges, tearing them down? Are there ways that through my assessments or judgments or discernments that I'm, rather than building up the fabric of our humanity, of our connection, that I'm tearing them down? I have to ask myself this. You see, that's part of the process that I go through in any week. I want to stand up here and I want to have something to say and share with you that's relevant, right? That's meaningful, something that we can work on. And so a basic question I have for you, because if I ask it of myself, I'm going to come in here and ask it of you, is, are there ways that you happen to be weaponizing your heart? And you may not even be aware of it, but this is an opportunity to just consider. And it doesn't have to be super intense or super, like destructive on some larger scale, but just on smaller scales, in a way that I know that I'm out of right relationship with myself, and that I'm not being an instrument of peace, like the prayer of St. Francis, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, that whereas hatred, so love, etc., etc. A way that I know is if I'm discontented with myself. You see, if I'm discontented with somebody else, the first relationship I always need to look at is the one with self. Because somehow I'm discontented, I'm out of lockstep, I'm out of peace with my own life. I'm out of peace with my own being. I need to work on healing myself. This is practitioner heal thyself. This is the biggest work that any of us will ever engage in, is the work to heal ourselves. And healing is simply a restoration back to the understanding of our awareness of our inherent wholeness. Are you with me? The process of healing is a restoration back to an awareness of our inherent wholeness. That there's nothing about us that's broken. Say it, there's nothing about me that's broken. Say it again, there's nothing about me that's broken. Today, let's do it together. Here we go. There's nothing about me that is broken. And sometimes we find these things inside of us, though. We can say it. I think it's important to say it because we get our vibration going. We get in alignment when we use our voice. We use the vibration of our own voice. It somehow rattles through our own body, and we can inform our entire body temple. There's nothing about this body. There's nothing about this mind. There's nothing about my consciousness that's broken, and there never has been. I've never been a big fan of world peace. I think I've shared that with you. And I am a big fan of world peace. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a huge fan of personal peace. Because if you're at peace and I'm at peace and you're at peace and I'm at peace, the International Day of Peace, while it's a great idea, means that each one of us must go about the work of revealing a peace within ourselves. That is the mighty work of the week before us. How can I reveal peace in my own heart? How can I reveal peace in my own mind? So let's break it down to a few different areas. Peace of thought. I've shared this with you before. I'll just share. Watch your thought, because thought makes what? Words. Peace of thought, first of all. Am I tending to my garden of belief? What am I believing about life? Am I believing in separation and otherness? Am I believing that somebody is different than me? Or am I adhering to the ideas of Ernest Holmes, I believe that there is one spirit that lives in everybody. That is a practice of a consciousness. I believe in one spirit that lives in you. I believe in one spirit that lives in you, and it's the same spirit that lives in me. And if I'm truly practicing that, can I see somebody really as other than me? Or am I motivated and inspired into an understanding that I am what thou art what I am? We're here to recreate. We're here to present the very fundamental idea that God created as us in His own image and likeness, every single person. And then we're to create every person in that same image and likeness, made out of the stuff of the whole Spirit of God. That is a discipline of thought. That is a discipline of mind. It's a discipline of consciousness, and it's something that we're called to practice daily. Is it easy work? No. But this isn't, we got to take it out of the conversation of easy and difficult. You know what I mean? I definitely gravitate toward things that are easy. I gravitate toward things that are easy. I like easy, but at the same time, I find great reward in accomplishing the things that are difficult. I bet you do too. Finding peace in my own thought is challenging. When negative or judgmental thoughts arise, pause and replace them with an affirmative truth. When negative, judgmental assessments of another arise, and they will, the work is to pause, catch myself, and replace them with an affirmation of truth. That person doesn't look like me, they don't smell like me, they don't walk in the same circles as me, blah, 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 judgment, assessment, etc. But they're the same person that I am. From a spiritual perspective, we're talking about principle here. That's what I want to keep us coming back to, is the idea of principle. And then we can apply spiritual principle. These are changeless realities, changeless truths are principles that we can then apply to our lives. And one of them is, I am what thou art what I am. Not just from God handed down to us, but from us being beholden to each other. Are you with me? I am what thou art. Thou art what I am. Love God with your entire heart. Love your neighbor as what? Yourself. So I don't see a whole lot of self-love going around out there sometimes. We could really get busy. Self-love looks like an internal peace. Self-love looks like I love myself so much that what? I can love you so much that what? You can love you so much that what? You can start loving me. Loving you. Thank you, Susan. I've sang that song in here before. It's a great song. I love myself so much that I can love you so much that you can love you so much that you can start loving me. Have anybody heard that one before? Yeah? It's wonderful, but where does it start? Not from a narcissistic, selfish self-love, but being recreated in image and likeness and out of the substance of the whole Spirit. That's where we come from. That's what we're created in. That's what we are called to live by. That is a discipline of spiritual practice in consciousness. And then we move from thought to word. Watch your thoughts, because thoughts make words. Are my words peaceful? Are the words coming out of my mouth peaceful? Do they give life? Are they constructive? Do they build? Do they build something? Do they create something? Are they welcoming a greater love, welcoming a greater joy? Or are they words of... I've made a practice in my life to stop, even if it's just us sitting on the couch watching TV, or we see a commercial or something like that, and oh my God, can you believe we just saw that? I'm making a practice of not reacting. Even if it's just me, even if it's just me and Barry, if it's just me and the family, whatever it is, to stop reacting. Because what is that reacting actually doing for anybody? First of all, it's got me all disheveled. It's got me all twisted up. And then from that place, I'm all messed up in consciousness. And then what happens? It comes out of my mouth, and then I'm creating something. I share this with my daughter. What happens in your mind is your business, but always be sure to tend to your garden of thought, that it's the most life-giving as possible. But be aware of this. Once it moves from your brain and then comes out of your mouth into the world, you've then created something. You've established something. So we are called to watch our words. What are we creating? And it becomes very simple in a setting like this to raise and praise each other. We're all walking the same path, right? I know you and you know me. We see each other on Sundays. We welcome guests. We assume that if they're coming in this room, perhaps there's an assumption that they share the same political beliefs as us. There's an assumption perhaps that they share the same views on social policy, et cetera, et cetera. But we really, that becomes easy, but it's not necessarily true. But we also have a context here in which we're committed to sharing life-giving words with each other. And the first thing we don't do is go up to each other and say, well, what are your political views? How do you stand on this social policy? We don't do that. We go up to each other and we say, good morning, how are you? How did you come to find Santa Fe Center for Spiritual Living? Or what are you up to in life? Or whatever the thing might be. We meet each other on a common ground first. You see, and we're establishing a new kind of paradigm, a different kind of paradigm. Many of you are probably familiar with the work of the artist Tracy Chapman. There's an album she did a long, long time ago. I think the album might be called New Beginnings. I'm not sure, but there's a song called New Beginnings. And she talks in that song about creating new symbols, creating new signs, creating a new language, creating new to begin again. That's something we can do on a daily basis, gang, is begin again. For ourselves, to create a new language. If I'm reacting, why am I reacting so vehemently about something, so passionately about something? Whether it's love and falling in love and adoration, or if it's anger and despisement. Why am I reacting so vehemently, so intently? Am I protecting something? Am I scared of something? If I bring myself back to my work in consciousness, then I can have some dominion. I can slow everything down. I can see where I'm really coming from, reconnect to my commitment to peace, shift what's happening in my consciousness, inform what's coming out of my mouth, and start revealing through my action a life that is beautiful, a life that is magnificent, a life that works for me, a life that's beautiful for you, that even if I don't disagree in my disagreement, there's dignity. And there's love. There's still love. So I tend to peace in my consciousness, peace in my mind. That whenever I'm in judgment or assessment and I feel superior or less than, I snap myself back to truth. What is true about this situation? Peace in my speech, peace in my talk, and peace in my action. A lot of people would say, I don't care what you say. Show me what you do. How do you act? How do you behave in the world? I don't care what you say. Then our behavior shows up. How are we behaving in the world? Are we behaving like one that sees we are one human family? Again, this is not easy. I'm not talking about an easy path. I'm talking about a worthwhile path. I'm talking about a dignified path. I'm talking about a path where I go to bed at night and put my head on the pillow and say, that was time well spent, or that was a day well lived. Yes? That's what we're talking about. That was a day well lived. I contributed. I was a giver, not a taker. I demonstrated the power and the presence and the love of God. And whether somebody else understood it or not, I know that I did. I was more loving, more inclusive, more joy-filled, more beauty-oriented. I tended to the garden of my belief. I did all of these things that help me be at a greater peace and then assist others in finding that peace as well, because I become an ambassador for the kingdom of heaven. I become an ambassador for the kingdom of heaven. An ambassador for the kingdom of heaven. What does the kingdom of heaven look like? There's a song that says, they'll know we are Christians by our love. By our love? Yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love. I think I did a sermon about that a year or so ago. It can't be more than a year because I haven't been here that much more than a year. I was going to say years ago. Not here. But they'll know who we are by the way that we love each other. That's behavior. That's peace in action. They'll know that I'm a prince or a princess or a queen or a king of peace by the way that I hold myself, the way that I talk to people, the way that I behave, the way that I am. Today is an International Day of Peace. It doesn't mean any, it's an abstract idea that exists someplace on the other side of the world until I make it at home in my own soul, until I make it home right here. Which brings me back to the question and the challenge for the week. What can I do in my own life to reveal a greater peace? There's something every single one of us can do to reveal a greater peace. It's not for me to say. It's not for your partner to say. It's not for your spouse to say. It's not for your brother, your mom, your sister, your dad, or anybody else to say. It's for each of us to go into that sacred chamber of the Most High, known as the heart space, the mind, where the mind and the heart meet. Someone would call it a chakra someplace, or a combination of them. But we go into that sacred place of the Most High and we inquire into it. And this is how spiritual practice works, gang. And it's why fundamentally in the foundations class, one of the first things we talk about is God and our relationship to God. Because that's point one, that's the foundation from which we live. That if I know God and I'm committed and interested in having a relationship with that presence, it will make itself known to me. That's the goods, that's the gift, that's the gold mine. And in it making itself known to me, it's information about living with greater freedom. It's information about living with more love. It's information about living with service and how I can tend to my own garden and tend to the garden of others too. We know we're getting divine information because it expands us and sets us free. We know we're getting information otherwise, or worldly information, generally if it makes us feel contracted, smaller, discontented, and frustrated. That's feedback. It's input. By the way, as an aside, somebody came up and said, Charles, it's weird you're wearing a mic, but it doesn't sound like you're on a mic. While the musicians are. This is commercial break. I know that because I project anyway, so it'd be maybe get a little bit when I get a little bit loud. Anyway, this is for the recording and not for the house. So I just wanted you to let you know that. Peace in thought, peace in speech. I know that's out of nowhere in the middle of my talk. Whatever. That's how my brain works, you know what I mean? Like, plus if I start getting loud, then it's going to be like really loud, you know what I mean? And I tend to get loud, I get it. Two more places to find peace. Peace and conflict. There's nothing wrong with conflict. Conflict is good. Conflict can be creative. A new idea can come out of conflict. The emergence of a new product can come out of conflict. A new way of being can come out of conflict. But we're called to find peace in conflict. Again, back to what the Dalai Lama said. Am I going into this conflict with an armed heart or a disarmed heart? Am I going into this conversation? Am I going into this day? Some people think that every day is a conflict. Oh my God, here comes life again. I got to get ready. Whoa! Right? Thank you. I got to get ready. They walk out the front door and they're like, oh, here comes life, rather than, yes, here comes life. And I'm ready for it today. And it's going to be beautiful and magnificent because I am a Prince of Peace. I'm a purveyor of God's goodness. I'm an ambassador for the kingdom of heaven. I'm in the choir of God's joy. And I sing about it, and I live about it, and I pray about it, and I be about it. Not in that defensive or offensive posture, but in that receptive and giving posture of peace in the midst of life. Some people see life as a conflict that we have to somehow make it through, and then when we get to the end, hopefully I lived a life good enough to experience a wonderful afterlife. What if we're already living in the afterlife and it's all about now, demonstrating through my consciousness that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and that's what's going to happen in the next life as well. What if we took eternity and moved it from a timeline to just an eternal now? How would that change my intention, desire, and commitment to be revealing myself as a place of peace now? Not waiting for tomorrow, not waiting for some other day, not waiting for when. That's one of the biggest things I discovered when I was in treatment. Is I kept coming back to, because the thing that I missed the most was drinking alcohol. But the thing I really miss the most is being at home in my skin, being comfortable in my own soul. And so what I kept telling myself is that there is no destination. There is no finish line. There is no destination. There is simply now, and now again, and now again, and now again, and now again. And I'm not going to keep doing that because that's crazy making, and you all would go crazy as well, right? And now again, and now again. But that's all we've got is the eternal now, which is kind of inspires us to get busy, right? With a little bit of urgency, a little bit of, oh, if I actually do this internal work, I might get free. If I actually do this internal work, if I actually this week spend time investigating what's going to reveal a greater peace, I actually might experience more peace as my life. That's the game. And then it rolls off into the circumstances and conditions of our lives. Peace with what? Relationships. Peace with what? Our creativity. Peace with what? The health of our body. Peace with what? Money. Peace with all of these things if I just get busy with it. First, disarm your own heart. Not just with others, but with ideas. If I'm struggling with a health condition, have I condemned my body or am I loving it? If I'm struggling with a financial condition, have I blessed the amount of money that's in my bank account or am I looking at it and going, damn it, it's not enough! I need more! Or am I looking at it and saying, oh, thank you, sweet Spirit, for blessing me with this financial resource, and I continue to be a vessel for more to show up? In relationships, are we othering? Are we making somebody other than, rather than taking responsibility? The last thing to note that I want to note is peace in our community. And when I say community, I'm not necessarily just talking about Santa Fe Center for Spiritual Living, because it's a little bit easier to practice peace here. And then the challenge becomes when we move from this place to actually practice peace in our community. And I'm thinking of Santa Fe. I'm thinking of this community. Not to make it too big and not to make it too small, but I've shared this with you before. We can become an ambassador for the kingdom of heaven, and you can be known for that. There's this man I just met. He's a friend of my brother and sister-in-law in town. And there's this man I just met, and to hear my brother talk about this man, he calls him St. Paul. And his name's Paul, and they call him St. Paul. He is known, they just moved to Santa Fe from Livingston, Montana. And my brother, they were talking about their friend group back in Montana and what they were, how they were connected and all that. He was talking about Paul as a tribute to this man, and he was known in his community as St. Paul. Back at my own spiritual community, we used to add Christ to the end of somebody's name. I think I've shared this with you before, right? Right, Susan Christ? Right? We talk about the principle of Jesus Christ, and Christ wasn't Jesus' last name, but that Christ was simply an added on, Christ meaning the anointed one, that each one of us can be known. That when it comes time for you to pass away from this earthly expression, someone will draw a picture of you and there will be a halo around your head. You will have been known by the way that you loved others. Peace in our community. So peace in thought, peace in word, peace in action, peace in conflict, and peace in community. This is what I share with you this morning. And pray, as we wrap up, that you will take the task on of being an ambassador, that we can go to work this week being individuals who are practicing the presence of God, practicing the presence of love, practicing the presence of peace, and be about that. Are you up for it? Yes. Are you up for it? Yes. Yes. All the enthusiasm that matters is the enthusiasm within your own heart, right? But it's easy to get going, and we can remember over the course of the week, there are 30, 40 other people that I know that are working on this and this as well. And it can become something that motivates us, that inspires us. So let's just take a moment and pray together as we wrap this up. Grateful to take a deep breath and The name of God, the word God, can be transplanted with many other names, and the name that I call it this morning is peace. A peace that prevails, a peace that is triumphant, a peace that passes any sort of need for understanding. It's simply peace. And it is the peace that abides and abounds within each one of us. That is the living expression of the living Spirit that is goodness, joy, beauty, and magnificence as each one of our lives. So as each of us are inspired and as we reflect upon peace in our lives this week, that there is a sweet kiss of the Spirit upon our forehead, letting us know that all is well, that we're moving in the right direction, that there's an inspiration of the heart and mind that lets us know, that informs us of exactly what we can be working on to reveal a greater peace. Exactly what can be worked on to reveal a greater expression of peace in our lives. Each one of us individually, and then together as a collective, become a force for good. I'm grateful for this awareness. I'm grateful for this truth. I'm grateful for our collective fellowship this morning. We are blessed. I call it good, and so it is. Amen.